From dungeon to domain, how to run both halves of AD&D at the same table. All right, you watch this series. This is the final video in this particular series. You know what Gary designed. You know the destination. You have the survival toolkit. You have the arrival scene. Now it's Saturday. Your characters are at name level. The followers are there. The stronghold is going up. What do you actually do tomorrow morning, right? So that's what this video is, the domain game. How it actually runs, what the loop looks like, how the dungeon and the domain feed each other, and how to run both halves of AD&D at the same table. Gary designed this as a unified system, and tonight, rerun the whole thing. So let's start with the most important thing to understand, guys, about the domain game, right? It's not a replacement for the dungeon game. It's a second loop running alongside it. Here's what I mean. Your fighter is a lord now, right? So he has a stronghold, a military force, a territory to manage. But the dungeon, but the dungeon on the next hex, right, is still there. The Goblin Triad is still in it. And now there's a reason, a domain level reason to clear it. You can't build on a territory you don't control. You can't collect taxes from settlers who are being raided or robbed. The dungeon is now a domain problem. And the domain is a dungeon problem. Construction costs gold. Followers need pay. The garrison needs equipment. Where does the gold come from? The dungeon, right? So the same treasure economy that drove the early game now funds the late game. It's the same loop, right? You're just running at a different scale. This is the thing that one of my players said that I've been thinking about ever since back in the day. They said we go after higher level dungeons to pay for the upgrades to our strongholds, right? That our territories can't, something like that. He said that our territories can't generate revenue for yet. That's the loop that Gary designed, not the DM's invention, the rules. So now let's talk about how you actually run the domain, right? So because the domain has a dungeon turn, right? We talk about that. So time is in 10-minute increments, right? Well, wandering monster rolls. The domain has its own version of that. Gary designed the domain game to run, longer time increments, weeks and months instead of turns and hours. Construction takes weeks. Followers arrive over days. Training takes weeks. The world moves on a slower clock at, a domain scale. And here's how that creates the same tension, right? So the dungeon turn here's how it creates the same tension that it did back at the lower levels. The villain is not going to wait. I've said this before. While the fighter is overseeing construction, forces are going to build up over here. The rival baron is maybe making a move. The rival guild is expanding. The other thieves guild you're going into our territory. The goblins in the next hex are watching, and raiding. The world Gary designed, keeps moving 100%, whether the party is active or not. So there's no change in that. So the DM's job at domain level is the same as the DM's job at the dungeon level. Make the clock visible, make players feel the cost of interaction. The construction that's a week behind schedule because the party went on a dungeon run. The follower who gets, poached, I don't know, by a rival lord, while the fighter was away, loyalties, the tax revenue that dropped because the trade road wasn't cleared in time. There's all these crazy things that could happen. These aren't punishments. This is the domain version of wandering monster rolls, right? The living world doing what it does when the players aren't watching. Now, I want to talk about something else which is really cool. The stronghold doesn't run itself, right? So let's say some things get established. There's a gatehouse and walls now. And Gary knew this, right? The expert hirelings section on page 29 of mark it. Here we go. There we go. On page 29. On the bottom here, let me hold it up for y'all. Right here, this chart right here. If you guys can see that, really cool. There's a lot of different expert hirelings here: alchemists, armorers, blacksmiths, and it's to the monthly cost. So let's say an alchemist would be 300 gold pieces a month, right? So you're going to need an armorer for every 40 soldiers. Of your equipment, or your equipment's going to degrade. You might need an engineer, architect, or your construction has a chance of collapse, right? You need a blacksmith, obviously, right? Possibly a sage if you want to understand the history of the territory that you're claiming. Gary itemized every operational need of a functioning stronghold. And gave it a cost, and a mechanical consequence for not having them. So if you on the next following pages, there's actually several pages after that. And because my book is all ripped up, the following pages after this chart, it tells you right here. Let me read the blacksmith. There must be a blacksmith in any stronghold, and he and his assistants can care for the needs of up to 40 men and horses. So there's definite mechanics and formulas in here. Crazy. They really went in depth in here. This is where the gold economy that started at level 1 comes full circle. I believe it does. It comes full circle. The fighter who learned at level 2 to spend gold on equipment and hirelings now has to manage a payroll. And the skills are the same. The scale is super different, right? And the expert hirelings create human stakes, right? So the armorer who's been with the Lord since the beginning, right? The engineer who has options, opinions about the tower design, it isn't shy about sharing them. These aren't numbers on a spreadsheet. These are actual characters. I've talked about, when you hire henchmen, they're not just these idiots. Give them a real world motivations. Do the same here. Do the actual same here. Gary's game is always about characters. So I want to talk now about how do you run both at the same table. And I've done it successfully. It's a lot of fun, and it's not just, now we're just sitting here crunching numbers. No, there's a lot to do. And it's a practical question, like, what do I do now? Well, how I run it, right? And here's how I run it. A session at name level has 2 modes, right? Domain mode and dungeon mode. And I let the players decide which mode the session opens in. Domain mode, we start at the stronghold. I give them an update. What happened while they were last there? Construction progress, followers news, any faction moves, players making domain decisions. Then we ask what do we need that the domain can't provide, right? So 9 times out of 10, the answer sends us into dungeon mode, right? Dungeon mode, we go into the dungeon. Same mechanics as always. except now the stakes are totally different, right? Because the gold we find funds the construction. Because the dungeon we clear opens up territory for settlements or whatever. Because the faction that we deal with has a political implications for the whole domain, right? The dungeon isn't a separate game anymore. It's kind of foreign policy, right? And here's the thing that about this structure. Players who understand both loops, right? Both loops are making decisions at 2 levels simultaneously, right? That's the most engaged I've ever seen players at the table. I mean, I'm being super serious here. I had a group that made name level, and it got super exciting because now they got something to protect and to run. And every decision that they do matters because they don't want to lose that. I mean, I'll lose a character, I'll lose a whatever, but now that I'm name level, holy crap, I arrived. And now I got like these followers and these specialists and this and that. Players who are, it's the most engaged I've ever seen players at the table. It's almost like that very first time when they're going in their very first dungeon and they're 3 hit points each and they're scared crapless. I was going to say S-less. They're scared crapless, and it's almost seriously almost the same thing. Because Gary built this into the rules and I finally ran it the way he wrote it. All right, well Here's what we built across this arc. I'm kind of going to summarize this whole arc. Video 0. Gary designed a survival system that keeps campaigns alive all the way to name level, from first to second to name level. Gold for XP, training costs, hirelings, and the dungeon turn. The prevention system was always in the DMG. It was always right here, guys. It was always right here. Then video 1 came around, right? A complete second game exists at name level. Not a bolt-on, a design transformation in how you play. Every class has a different late game. Gary wrote the tables, the procedures, and the mechanics. Video number 2. Campaigns die before name level because the DMs strip out Gary's survival infrastructure, right? Put it back in, guys, and the campaign is going to live. Video 3, our last video. That's the arrival scene when you guys all come to the gaming table and what it looks like when name level actually fires up, right? What happens? The followers coming, the stronghold beginning, the game transforming. And then this video, what we just talked about today, the domain game, right? 2 loops running together totally. The dungeon funds the domain gives the dungeon purpose. Both halves of the game Gary designed, running at the same table. The way he wrote it. Gary wrote the manual. You've read it. Go run the best damn game in the room. You guys, thank you for being here. Drop a comment. Tell me where you are in the arc. Level 1, mid-levels, already name level, level 75. I want to know. And share this series with your DM or with the player at your table who's been wondering why the campaign keeps stalling. There's so much more to do than just the hack and slash of level 6, 7, and 8, and then 9 and 10. Try domain play. Get those 2 loops together. Stop letting your campaign stall. Try what Gary wrote. This is the game that Gary built. This right here, all the way through. Game on, you guys. Take care of each other. Thanks for watching. I am DM Angelo. This is the DM and Friends. Bye-bye.